The most meaningful defeat of my life. The year was 1990. It was a hot summer month smelling like iodine in Izmir. In those years, I was 15 years old, I had my first platonic love and was among the top 10 students of the academically. Naturally, talked and questioned a lot due to my interest in literature and Turkish, and got along well with my teachers and friends. But I was a complete newbie who was unprepared in one thing. Middle school years were the first golden years that my leadership side came to the surface. Speaking with a proper Istanbul accent and having high scores were making it inevitable for me to be active in many decisions the class would make, and I was almost being pushed to act like this against my will. For example, when it came to the cancellation of consecutive exam dates, the whole class, including the witch girls who wouldn't look at me under normal circumstances, would line up in front of me, say that only I can handle this job, and use me to persuade the teachers to change. Just because they didn't take their notes and didn't study regularly, I didn't like making the requests from my teachers every time too. But most of the time I would find myself acting as their advocate. Fortunately, my performance in classes would made it easier my job, and my requests wouldn't reject in those days. The one I could convince most easily was Mümin Bayraktaroğlu, who was in our history classes and was also the vice principal of the school. He was taller and his hair was whiter than Mahmut teacher in Hababam class. I will never forget this name for the rest of my life. The bond between us was so strong that I was feeling like his little assistant. Due to, he knew that I always came to class ready. As soon as he entered the classroom, he would either pass the topics on to his other right-hand man named Ertuğrul, or he would transfer it to me. And because he was the assistant principal, he would use the classroom as a recreation facility. Of course, I can making this synthesis after 40 years. There was an issue that I can now see that school budgets are a problem in every period and in every generation. It was also about donations. For some reason that year, mandatory donations were collected repeatedly, but no receipt was presented in return. We could hear the grumblings of the students, especially the upper-class high school adults. But it had made me take a step that I would not be able to take today if I were given thousands of dollars. Yes, teacher Mümin had entered the classroom with his long stature and automatically approved me to get up for the lesson. Of course, I had informed the class that I would put this right advocacy, which I had previously talked with my classmates, into action in this lesson, and that I would raise the issue with him not as our history teacher, but as our vice principal. Everyone was attentive, as if they were wondering what kind of entrance I would make. Normally, the silence that they wouldn't maintain if a sword fell on them had increased the tension even more. Under normal circumstances, while our topic would be the boring details of the Tanzimat period, there would be 8 B's opposition actions. Before starting the topic, I had touched on sensitive issues such as the fact that the students had trust issues with the school administration, that the number of donations had increased in recent months, and that an explanation had to be made to the students. for which the receipt were not presented with a soft introduction. And I was thinking I was involved in things beyond my scope. We had reached the middle of the lesson, but my main teacher was leaning on his chair, looking at me with his small immigrant eyes and listening to me without interrupting with a deep smile. This attitude of his had mobilized the class of 57 people and caused them to stand and applaud loudly for my speech. There was a relief that I couldn't understand on me. I had started to get more sharper in my words and make accusations. It was unbelievable, but that lesson had completely wasted with this discussion, and our teacher left the lesson with 0 words. In the days after that, he hadn't reacted at all about this issue and hadn't taken any accusatory attitude towards me. Until makeup exams in the end of the year. When we received the end of the year report cards, I had seen that there was a terrible discrepancy in my report card. Even though I was good at all my social classes, I had to complete physics, chemistry, and mathematics. This was a first in my life, but it was the type that I could work for a summer and get by. At least that's what I was thinking. When it was my turn, the board, chaired by the Mumin teacher, had said, "Let her study for another year. Maybe she will come to her senses." As a student who received certificates of appreciation and honor every year, the fact that I failed the class that year had only one meaning. It was the first meaningful defeat of my life. In later ages, don't go in front, they crash. Don't stay behind, they run over. And don't talk a lot, they hang. He had taught me why his word should be my motto. Besides, there was a loss that I couldn't buy if I paid money for it. Well, I couldn't always win. This trauma of my life, which was very difficult for me to tell, had taught me a lot in the following years. He had taught me about where I should remain silent, where I shouldn't intervene like lawyer, and that sometimes I will able to be wrong even when I am right. And most importantly, he had taught that the issues of style and manner are very important. This beautiful person, who has probably passed away, was only able to destroy 1 year of my life, but he had given me a very important experience for the next years of my life. I remember him with mercy and gratitude.